The Ghostface Panda is his name on TikTok. I'll make sure I link it when the video goes up. So he said that the ending was actually Tony reliving his death dream in purgatory over and over again. He said that Tony's favorite movie was The Godfather. AJ reminds him of that when he tries to whack Junior and they're crying out front in the parking lot. And The Godfather, the beginning of The Godfather, whacks Palazzo and the captain in a restaurant. And then also in The Godfather, Vito is buying oranges when they shoot him. The first thing that Tony eats when he wakes up in the last episode is an orange. When he's talking to Carmela about not kicking the blonde broad out for purging cookies, when AJ is coming down the steps with his girlfriend. And then how there were only a very small amount of people who knew what Eugene actually was in real life. Like, only the audience knew Eugene was a rat and an informant and had a son with a drug problem and couldn't get out of the mafia to spend his money in Florida. But Eugene's brother thinks that all of the reason Eugene hung himself was because of Tony and not being able to get out of the life. So when Vito makes fun of Eugene's members-only jacket earlier in season 6, this guy says that the guy wearing the members-only jacket in the final scene is Eugene's brother, and it's Eugene's jacket. And he whacks Tony because he was the reason his brother hung himself. And that part that Christopher says where you're in an Irish bar in purgatory and you relive the same night over and over again and they whack him the same way over and over again. The guy says every time the bell rings in, what was the restaurant they were in?
Begins with an Holstein's.
Holstein's. The guy says every time the bell rings, it's the dream and the purgatory event starting over again.
Huh.
And I just thought that, and then that part about Bobby on the boat before they get in a fight, the Soprano.
Yeah. You don't even hear it.
Like, you don't even hear it. So he put all that together in this TikTok video, and he was saying, like, if you listen to interviews with David, he'll tell you all the information is there the whole time.
Cuz, are you guys sitting down for dinners that I don't know about, you and Mr. Chase? And you're on a first name basis?
No, I mean, that's like everybody knows. If you know we're talking about Sopranos, you know who David is. So I just thought that was a wild interpretation, and I thought it deserved a conversation because I could totally, I don't know if I believe it all, but I could totally buy into all of that. And it's one of the most interesting theories I've ever heard about the ending, besides I don't like the fade to black, which I thought the fade to black was fantastic.
Yeah, now that I'm over it, I thought it was fantastic. When what first happened, I wanted to rip my TV off the wall.
I thought it was broken. I ran into the other room. I was watching it with my mom and my dad in the living room, and I ran into my bedroom because I thought the TV broke. And then as the credits come on, they're like, yeah, come on back in. It's working again. But what do you think about that? I think that's a wild connection that he made with all that stuff.
It is a wild connection. What I think truly happened was, I think it's the simplest answer. I think what happened was it was an unsanctioned hit on a New York mob boss that he didn't get permission from the other families, and that's who whacked him. That's what I think happened.
Yeah, I think but the little guy... Him and the little
simplest, guy. Usually the simplest conclusion is what happened.
First of all, it's not real life. It's a movie. And second of all, the little guy and him came to an agreement. They were going to pay Janice for whacking Bobby. And there was going to be, they weren't going to give the location of Phil, but they made a truce. Him and the little guy made a truce.
Yeah. The little guy with the eye. But he's just the underboss of one family.
But then they whacked Phil.
I get what you're saying, but I don't even think you're allowed to whack a boss inside your own family without, like, the commission or the whole 5 families giving you the okay.
So you think an unsanctioned hit from a rogue family we never saw on screen in 86 hours is more likely than Eugene's brother?
I didn't say that. I said that's just what I think happened. I really like your theory. I like it a lot.
It's not mine. Ghostface. He gets all
the gentleman. So I like it a lot. That's my theory. My theory is just that it was a simple, you know what? They never got permission from anybody else in New York, and that's why he got whacked. I mean, for all we know, the little guy got whacked off screen too, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Let's assume Silvio dies and Tony dies. What does the head of the Mayo family look like at this point? I'm saying Paulie.
Gotta be Paulie. I mean, he's the only one who can take it. And then Benny,
the new boss. Patsy's his number 2, and little Paulie's number 3.
Yeah, and then Benny's probably running a crew.
Yeah, Benny's a capo. Patsy's got to be number 2, right? Patsy would probably on paper be the boss because Meadow married his son, but Paulie would never let that happen.
Well, no, I mean, who else do you got? You got the other guy who came in, the guy who whacked Phil, the guy who actually whacked him. What's his name? He's got like a crazy, it's not even an Italian name. I forget
Walden Bobby Casoda.
That's
Walden. He whacked Phil in Oyster Bay.
He did. He read it at the gas station. Remember, Agent Harris calls him and he's like, who was it? Oh, he's like, gets all excited on the phone. And Harris is, he hears in the meeting. He's like, we're going to win this thing. He's like, oh, that's great.
Walden. He's like, why you got such a bad name? What kind of Italian name is Walden? Oh, my God.
Wasn't he like, I'm named after Bobby Darin or something?
Walden Bobby Darin Casoda or something like that. Yeah, that's funny. He's Angie Bumpencero's nephew.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Now, he was a main guy.
Yeah, he had to have been. For them to let him go off on his own to Oyster Bay and whack Phil, he had to have been.
But they introduced these characters with like 4 episodes left in the whole series. You know what I mean? Where was he? All of a sudden, was he in prison? Like, give us a little bit of a backstory.
That's exactly what I'm about to do. Whatever Walden's real last name on the show is, Angie Bumpencero's maiden name is the same last name because in the season 2 opener, when Janice and Barbara are in Tony's backyard and they come down for the party, and Janice says Angie blah, 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 whatever the kid's real last name is. That's Angie's maiden name. And she's like, oh, Angie blah, blah, blah married Big Pussy. And it's the same last name that Walden has. So they're related somehow. But you really have to pay attention to connect those dots. They didn't make it easy for you to understand where he came from.
Okay. All right. But yeah, no, going back to your original topic, I agree. I could see that theory. It's not something that I would ever go, that makes no sense. Yeah, from totally everything that was laid out, it certainly is very possible, especially by the way, I'm not going to call him David. I'm going to call him Mr. Chase with a little bit of respect.
Mr. Chase. Like he's an 80-year-old man. He might be an 80-year-old man. I don't know.
With his genius of putting the show together, it's very, very possible. That's 100% correct.
And it was well thought out and was unique. So I just felt like it needed a shout out.